Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics. And with the UK being hit by 10% tariffs, but the EU 20%, some people are suggesting that maybe some businesses in Europe could relocate to Britain in order to sell to America more competitively. Now, I'll be explaining how this wouldn't actually work. However, there is a way to stimulate some relocation back to the UK if people are interested. But first, for daily news and commentary, please hit the subscribe button to stay notified. So various people, mostly but not exclusively of a pro-Brexit disposition, have suggested that our reduced tariff rate compared to the EU might encourage some EU-based businesses to move some of their production to Britain in order to get the lower tariff rate on exports to America. However, there are a number of problems with this thinking. By far and away the biggest is that tariffs are not set in stone. Nothing Trump does or says ever is. The EU will bite back. Maybe Trump comes to some sort of agreement with them and drops the EU tariff rate. The UK may not be able to agree a trade deal because Trump demands too much, and our own tariff rate may rise. The situation is incredibly uncertain. Nobody is going to work on a 10-year business plan, which is based on the notion of Trump's tariff schedule being stable. We know he could change it 3 times a week for all we know. The second problem is that you would find it harder to sell back into that EU market because of the Brexit trade barriers. The reason why so many, even British-based businesses, moved to the EU after Brexit was not just because the EU has the larger market, although that is a huge factor. It's also because it's way easier to sell from the EU to Britain than from Britain to the EU. So if you wanted to sell to both markets, you've got an easier time in the EU. So you'd only relocate to the UK for products intended essentially for the British and American markets. So even if you did want to take the chance on Trump's tariffs being stable for the next 10 years, which no serious project manager would, then there are still only limited cases of where it would be useful. You could also run into some other problems as well. You've got rules of origins problems. If the US authorities spotted the moves and considered the products to essentially be of EU origin, but just assembled in Britain to dodge the tariffs, for example, they could tighten their import rules to slap you with the greater tariffs anyway. And also, it would have to be a product for which even the 10% tariff allows you to be competitive. There'll be some goods, for example, it's like, yeah, we can't really sell much in America now that there's a 20% tariff. But even a 10% tariff makes it too expensive for American customers. So it has to be goods where you would sell significantly more at the lower rate, which again is only going to apply to so many goods. That being said, if people are interested in getting businesses to relocate to Britain, then their general thinking is broadly correct. We can absolutely use the concept of lower tariffs to do this. Just not with America. That 10-year business plan needs a more stable solution. Now, if we negotiate a customs union with the EU, for example, then tariffs on products between the two markets just disappear. That way, a business might relocate to Britain in order to take advantage of the lower rates on US tariffs, safe in the knowledge that they don't screw themselves if those tariffs end up being equalised. They'd still be able to sell to EU customers tariff-free no matter what happens. It would also mean much less expensive and time-consuming paperwork for the businesses already based in Britain. So yeah, if people all of a sudden are interested in a tariff schedule encouraging some production to return to Britain after we lost it to Brexit, then the actual answer is reversing Brexit. The more you reverse it, the more inward investment you will get back. And the customs union, as I've said before, is very much the low-hanging fruit here. It would be a breach of Labour's manifesto. That's unfortunate. But it wouldn't require freedom of movement. We don't have to follow EU rules, even though we basically do anyway. There are no fees to be paid, as with single market access. And there's no reason to suppose it would change Trump's assessment of our tariff liability. Turkey was given the 10% tariff rate by Trump, same as the UK. And Turkey is in a customs union with the EU. Didn't do it any harm. So all those Brexit supporters who are suddenly keen on relocating businesses from the EU to Britain, I look forward to working with them to persuade the government to negotiate a customs union with the EU as soon as possible. Because in the here and now, those businesses, if they're going to relocate at all, they're more likely to relocate to Turkey than Britain. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. If you've enjoyed the video, please click the like button and subscribe for further content. If you'd like to support the channel further, you can click the join button for memberships. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll see you later.